Is this the interview?
Bloomberg's Michelle Hussein.
Is this it? In conversation with Elon Musk.
Hello, everyone. And Elon Musk, welcome to Qatar Economic Forum. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
I'll pause. In the interest of goodwill, I like that jacket. I don't like the incredibly patchy beard. I feel like you stopped shaving like right here and right here. I like the jacket.
Fine, how are you?
Very well, thank you, and very pleased to have you with us. You know, among those here in the audience in Doha are some you will know.
I also do think that Elon Musk and I have the same haircut, which is kind of cool because I didn't pay for mine yet. I haven't paid for the plugs, bro.
People who have backed you financially over the years. Since you last spoke here in 2022, a lot has changed in your life. You're not only running multiple companies, you were doing that then, but now you also have a role in government. So first of all, I hope you won't mind if from time to time I have to move you from one topic to another because we have a lot to cover in the time we have. That will be all right? Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Well, let's start then with exactly the fact that you now have this combination of being a CEO and having a role as a government advisor. Tell me about your week. How does it work? What's the split of your time?
If he doesn't mention that he tweets 40 times a day, if he tries to act like all of that is work, I'm going to crack. Also, what about, how did you get to the top of Diablo ladder? Okay. How do you get to the PoE ladder?
Well, I travel a lot. So I was in Silicon Valley yesterday morning. I was in LA yesterday evening. I'm in Austin right now.
You were in LA yesterday evening and you didn't stop by? You didn't come on the lemonade stand?
I'll be in DC tomorrow. I'll be there having dinner with the president tomorrow night, I believe. And then a whole bunch of cabinet secretary meetings, and then back to Silicon Valley on Thursday night.
But I mean, the balance of your time, is it, well, clearly it's a lot, but is it still the case, as you said a while ago, that it's about 1 to 2 days a week on your government work?
Yeah, that's correct.
And what does that mean for your corporate life? Because if we start with Tesla, the company has suffered in recent months what you've called blowback. So what is your plan for turning that around, the declining sales picture, and by what stage do you think you're going to be able to turn it around?
Oh, it's already turned around.
Oh, good.
Give me some evidence.
Oh, I didn't know it was solved. Easy. Fucking clap. Wait, my goat? He just turned it around. I would say the stock is back. I would say that, as per usual, has gotten divorced from the fundamentals yet again. I mean, the sales numbers are still down. I would be shocked if we get a massive bounce back in Q2 that shows that all the sales are, but
Evidence for that. I've just been looking at the sales figures for Europe in April, which show very significant declines in the big markets.
Okay. That's what I was getting at, Elon. April's not that long ago, and all the sales are down. So, like, can you tell me how it's fixed?
Europe is our weakest market. We're strong everywhere else. No, our sales.
Bro, I'm quite sure the sales are down in China too. Maybe in America. I don't have any recent data, but I'm quite sure they're down in China, and I'm quite sure they're down in Canada. So maybe the USA
Are doing well at this point. We don't anticipate any meaningful sales shortfall, and obviously the stock market recognizes that, since we're now back over $1 trillion in market cap. So,
Bro, it's so fucked up to, whenever the stock is down, be like, it's fucking fake, doesn't mean anything. And when it's up, being like, well, that's proof. It's proof it's a good job. No, dude, listen, the people buying this stock market dip are like 100% retail. And I'm not exaggerating. What I'm telling you is that retail buyers have never bought the dip harder. It's never been a higher percentage of retail. It's never been, so like, maybe it'll be okay. I'm not going to fucking predict the future of any stock market, but I want you to know that like the risk level is rising and rising as the smart money or the Wall Street money flees. They're slowly pulling out, or overseas investors are pulling out. And the only people left are retail investors. They're holding the bag. By the end of this, it's going to be a surge with only retail holding the bag. And then if it falls from there, it's cooked. Maybe it goes up forever. Maybe it's fine. I'm just saying the market is heavily propped up by retails who've been trained to buy the dip.
The market is aware of the situation, so it's already turned around.
But sales still down compared to this time last year.
In Europe.
In Europe, okay. And
yes, but that's true of all manufacturers.
No.
There's no exceptions.
There is exception.
does that mean
No, for EV sales, for example, are up in Norway and Denmark, but Tesla sales are down, which means they're buying more EVs, but they're not buying Teslas. In China, EV sales are way up, but they're not buying Teslas. So I can't speak to every single country off the top of my head, but that's not a true statement, what he just says. It's not a true statement.
mean that you're not going to be able... Does that mean...
European market is quite weak.
Okay, but you would acknowledge, wouldn't you, that what you are facing, okay, let's just take it as Europe, what you are facing is a significant problem. This Tesla was an incredibly aspirational brand. People identified with it. They saw it as being at the forefront of the climate crisis, and now people are driving around with stickers in their cars saying, I bought this before we knew Elon was crazy.
And there are also people who are buying it because Elon's crazy, or however they may view it. So yes, we've lost some sales perhaps on the left, but we've gained them on the right. The sales numbers at this point are strong. And
well, I did a whole video on this. I'm not going to reiterate, but that's bullshit, bro. Come on. You know people in fucking Alabama aren't picking up a Tesla, bro. People on the right generally love gas cars. They're more likely to love it. They're just more likely to love their fucking truck. And Cybertruck sales are terrible. So I would just say this is not a realistic answer to the question. I think if he was more directly honest and said like, yeah, look, my involvement in politics was for a great cause, and I knew it would cause some blowback, but it was worth it for America. I don't believe any of this, but like he could say this. But as I unwind this movement, as I have mission accomplished here at DOGE, I think people are going to recognize how great Tesla's product is. And a lot of this political stuff will blow over. That's like a PR answer that could at least not be a lie. You know, you could be, that's what you could say. It's not true, but you could say it and it's like open-ended. But to openly tell me like, no, every sale we lost in a left-leaning city, we've gained in a right-leaning one. It's just not true. Like everybody knows that. People trust their eyes. They know how many people buy gas cars in red states versus.
We see no problem with demand.
So what do you?
And I mean, you can just look at the stock price. If you want the best inside information, the stock market analysts have that. And
okay, please save this clip for when the stock goes down. Like, it's so easy to say this when you're on an upswing. And then if it goes down, I want you to remember that, like, okay, the stock market is the perfect source of truth.
Our stock wouldn't be trading near all-time highs if it was not, if things weren't in good shape. They're fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I was citing sales figures rather than share price. Well, tell me then how committed you are to Tesla. Do you see yourself, and are you committed to still being the chief executive of Tesla in 5 years' time?
Yes.
No doubt about that at all.
Well, no, I might die.
Oh, morbid.
Okay, short of that.
Maybe see if I'm dead. So there's a slight amount of.
Does that mean that the value of your pay doesn't have any bearing on your decision?
Oh.
Well, that's not really as.
That's a funny question. So she asked him first, are you going to be here in 5 years? He said, yes, for sure, unless I die. Then she caught him with the follow-up question because he's in a big struggle over pay right now. He's asking for a lot more money from Tesla. And it's like, okay, so if they don't pay you, are you going to leave? It's a good follow. It's a good question. It's kind of a little bit of a 1-2 trap there.
Subject of discussion in this forum.
Yeah, I mean, a lot is underselling it. He's asking for more money than any CEO has ever been paid ever in any company of all time. I think he's asking for more money than Tesla has made in profit in the history of the company. in a 1-year pay package. Just to be clear, it's like 50-something billion dollars. And I think he deserves more. Okay? I honestly think he deserves more for what he's done for this country. But
I think obviously there should be compensation for, if something incredible is done, that compensation should match that something incredible was done. But I'm confident that whatever some activist posing as a judge in Delaware happens to do will not affect the future compensation.
This is the judge who twice struck down the $56 billion pay package that was awarded to you. I think the value on the current value of stock options. Yeah.
Not a judge. The activist who is cosplaying a judge in a Halloween costume.
Okay, that's your characterization. I think on the current value.
bro, he's so pleased with that. I mean, she is a judge. Dude, look how happy he is, though. I'm almost happy for him. I mean, that joke killed in his mind. As someone who laughs at my own jokes, I love it. Well, let's go, Elon. Let's fucking go, bro.
Stock options, I think the actual
justice according to the law.
On the current value of stock options, I think the value of that pay package stands at about $100 billion. Are you saying you are relaxed about?
Jesus Christ, it's $100 billion now? How can you possibly ask for that as a CEO when the company is doing so poorly? $100 billion. You want a full McDonald's. You would like the entire market cap of McDonald's as your CEO pay. The company has not made $100 billion in profit ever, combined, all years combined.
The value of your future pay package, your decision to be committed to Tesla for the next 5 years, as long as you are still with us on this planet, is completely independent of pay?
No.
It's not independent. So pay is a relevant factor then to your commitment to Tesla?
A sufficient voting control such that I cannot be ousted by activist investors is what matters to me. And I've said this publicly many times. But let's not have this whole thing be a discussion of my alleged pay. It's not a money thing. It's a reasonable control thing over the future of the.
Dude, it's so crazy to ask for $100 billion pay package and just say it's not a money thing. Like, there are states that don't have that much money. You know what I'm saying? There's that amount of money is, you can fund schools and it's such an absurd amount of money to be like, it's not a money thing. Like 100 billion, I would take 98 billion. It's like, I don't do it for the money. It's not, I just want voting control over this $1 trillion company.
Especially if we're building millions, potentially billions of humanoid robots. I can't be sitting there and wanting to get tossed out by, for political reasons, by activists. That would be unacceptable. That's all that matters. Now let's move on.
Okay, well, just one question.
Let's move on.
Well, one question before we move on to other companies, which is that I wonder if some of what has happened to Tesla in the last few months, did you take it personally?
Yes.
And did it make you regret any of...
Bro has so much riz, dude. That's the thing, is you just got so much riz. He's able to flow in a conversation so well.
Or think twice about your political endeavors?
He's thinking.
Because it is...
I did what needed to be done. The violent antibody reaction, and I'm not someone who's ever committed violence, and yet massive violence was committed against my companies. Massive violence was threatened against me. Who are these people? Why would they do that? How wrong can they be? They're on the wrong side of history, and that's an evil thing to do. To go and damage some poor innocent person's car, to threaten to kill me.
Can you put the SpongeBob sad emote? The richest person on earth, deeply enmeshed in our government, going up here and giving a sob story about how sad his life is, how he's so underappreciated, saying he got the job done, I did what needed to be done. What'd you fucking do? The deficit's not cut. The deficit is blown out. It's bigger. Bro, if you cut the deficit, I would be up here fighting with my chat and being like, listen, bro, I don't like him, but but you didn't do it. You didn't do shit. And now you're acting so sob story about it. Oh my God, dude.
What's wrong with these people? I've not harmed anyone. So something needs to be done about them.
What?
A number of them are going to prison.
Yeah, Venezuela?
And more will.
You're referring to the attacks on Tesla showrooms, but I think
Yeah. Firing bullets into showrooms and burning down cars is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Those people will go to prison, and the people that funded them and organized them will also go to prison.
Watch
Don't
out,
worry.
George Soros.
We're coming for you.
wouldn't you?
I forgot this is in Qatar. The audience fucking loves it. Oh, wait, talking about hunting people down traditionally? Qatar, that's fucking, oh yeah, this plays. He knows the crowd, bro. That's fucking, yeah, cut off their hands.
But wouldn't you acknowledge that some of the people who turned against Tesla in Europe were upset at your politics?
Yeah, I mean, what's the question about, are you going to arrest them in Europe? You know, they burned down a Tesla dealership in France. Are you going to arrest you're talking about invading France?
And very few of them would have been violent in any way. They just objected to what they saw you say or do politically.
Well, it's certainly fine to object to political things, but it's not fine to resort to violence and hanging someone in effigy and death threats. That's obviously not okay. That's absurd. That is in no way justifiable at all, in any way, shape, or form. And some of the legacy media nonetheless have sought to justify it, which is unconscionable. Shame on them.
Let's talk about your other companies then in other business areas. SpaceX.
It just feels so horseshit to me. A different person can make that argument and I would believe them and agree with them. Because I do think that like burning down a Tesla dealership is not a good thing to do. I said that in my fucking presentation. But like, if this person saw a Joe Biden effigy, Elon would retweet that shit and go, Lamau, 3 laughing faces. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels so fake. It's this weird, like, ask for respectability too late. It doesn't feel authentic at all from Elon. I would appreciate it more if he was just honest. Yeah, it feels cry bully. Yeah.
I saw that you said in a speech at the West Point Military Academy.
Bro, your VP bit with Gavin is so obvious. Oh yeah, you caught me? Fuck, caught. Yes, it's going to be the Glizmeister and Gavin 2028, dude. I'm going to bring the elderly vote, but it's all part of my plan to, I'm going to teach him the Justin Trudeau stair fall. He's going to fuck it up, get hospitalized. I become president by default. Easy clap. Big A in the White House. And we're going to fix some shit around here. First of all, mandatory uninstalling League of Legends. Everyone's computer. We need more free time back. Okay? Step 1. And I will be doing that via police state. Lakers automatic seed to the finals. Yes, absolutely. LeBron needs his rest. Till age fucking 50, he's going to be allowed to play. Automatic seed to the finals. And he gets one cheap shot.
Academy recently that the future of warfare is AI and
Tough but fair. He tells it like it is.
drones. And obviously defense is an increasingly booming sector with the state of the world at the moment. Do you see SpaceX moving into weaponized drones?
Oh, big question.
You certainly ask interesting questions that are impossible to answer.
It's impossible to answer? She asked you directly if SpaceX is going to make weaponized drones, and you rolled your eyes, laughed, and said it's an impossible question. Feels like a easy, nope, we're not doing that. We're doing Starlink internet. Why doesn't he just do what he's done before and lie? Like, or Google, when they say, don't be evil, then quietly get rid of that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why can't I just be like, no, we're not making weaponized drones, and then later be like, change my mind. Why I gotta be consistent? That's crazy.
So no, SpaceX is it's the space launch leader. So SpaceX doesn't do drones. SpaceX builds rockets, satellites, and internet terminals.
Great.
So SpaceX has a very dominant position in space launch. So of the mass launch to orbit this year, SpaceX will probably do 90%. China will do the half of the remaining amount, so 5%, and the rest of the world, including the rest of the US, will do about 5%. So SpaceX will do about 10 times as much as the rest of the world combined, or 20 times as much as China, and China is doing actually a very impressive job. The reason for this is that we are putting into orbit the largest satellite constellation the world has ever seen by far.
Okay.
So
she asked about drones.
About maybe approaching 80% of all active satellites in orbit are SpaceX. And they're providing high bandwidth global connectivity throughout the world. In fact, this connection is on a SpaceX connection. So I think this is a very good thing because it means that we can provide low cost, high bandwidth.
Bro, the question was, are you going to make weaponized drones? And he's doing an ad read. I feel like I have to skip ahead. This is just an ad read.
Internet to parts of the world that don't have it or where it's very expensive. And I think the single biggest thing you can do to lift people out of poverty and help them is giving them an internet connection. Because once you have the internet connection, you can learn anything for free on the internet. And you can also sell your goods and services.
Actually, we agree on this. I think even in sub-Saharan Africa or anywhere, the greatest thing they need is access to YouTube to watch Big A clips. Because that will allow them to build their own entrepreneurial spirit. Okay? I think we should be airdropping flash drives with my full discography. And I do mean the albums. To developing nations. This is how we fucking turn this world around.
Services to the global market. Once you have knowledge by the internet and the ability to engage in commerce, that this is going to greatly improve quality of life for people throughout the world, and it has.
Did he say the ability to engage in comments is what's going to improve quality of life? Because I will disagree. I think the ability to engage in comments is what has ruined our brains Oh, commerce. All right. In that case, just my brain's ruined then. You continue. My brain's ruined. I just heard comments because I'm on fucking YouTube all day.
And I'd just like to thank anyone in the audience who may have been helpful in, with Starlink and getting it to approved in their country. And I think it's doing a lot of good on the countries that have approved it, which is, I think at this point, 130 countries are very happy with it.
Great.
I don't currently anticipate SpaceX getting into the weapons business. It's not an aspiration. We're frequently asked to do weapons programs, but we have thus far declined.
Do you envisage SpaceX or indeed Starlink as a separate entity publicly listing in the near future or at all?
He wouldn't say that here.
It's possible that Starlink may go public at some point in the future.
And what would be the time frame? What kind of time frame are you considering?
I'm in no rush.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a dumb question, to be honest. He's not going to answer that. There's a lot that goes into that, and yeah, there's just no reason to.
Rush to go public. Public is, I guess, a way to, potentially make more money, but at the expense of a lot of public company overhead and inevitably a whole bunch of lawsuits, which are very annoying. So really something needs to be done about the shareholder derivative lawsuits in the U.S. Because it allows plaintiffs' law firms who don't represent the shareholders to pretend that they represent the shareholders by getting a puppet plaintiff with a few shares to initiate a massive lawsuit against the company. And
won't somebody think of the shareholders? He's not even saying that. He's saying, won't somebody think of the CEOs who have to answer to their own shareholders? He's one step above. He's saying he's annoyed that shareholders can sue the management of the company if they feel like it's not being managed well. And the reason he's mad about this is because he was sued by shareholders in Tesla over his pay package, which was obscene. And they won, and that's why he had to he lost it under that Delaware judge. That's what he's letting out his rage over the fact that some shareholders, even though they don't own as many shares as he does, can sue the company and get rid of his pay package. It's an absurd thing to be complaining about. Like, this is not the problem. Certainly, the idea is like no company will want to go public because they get sued, except a million companies are public. All the biggest companies in America are public.
Irony being that, extreme irony, that even if the class they purport to represent were to vote that they don't want the lawsuit would still continue. So how can it be a class action representing a class if the class would vote against it?
Because it doesn't have to be over half of the shareholders to vote to sue. You own a ton of shares. You and your brother and people on the board can outvote everyone 50% and say there's no, oh yeah, thanks, man. And say there's no problem with the pay package. But if someone owns 10% of the shares or less, they should still be allowed to sue if you're breaking the law by making an absurd pay package. By the way, Art brought me a meal. How about that? W wifey.
And that's the bizarre situation we've got in the U.S. It's a dire need of reform. As anyone who's run a public company.
Also, to say that the thing that's in dire need of reform in the U.S. is the ability of shareholders to sue the CEO. That's our biggest problem. The average person in America is fucking screaming for CEO shareholder reform. That's what's holding our country back. Nothing is more dire.
You've experienced this. It's an absurd situation that needs to change.
Well, do you think Donald Trump might change it? You've certainly got his ear. I imagine that you've put this to him. Is this something you're trying to change before any Starlink IPO?
Well, it would need a law to be passed. The trouble being that you need 60 Senate votes, and the Democrats will vote against it. The plaintiff's bar is, I believe, the second largest contributor to the Democratic Party. That's the issue. At the state level, this can be solved. And I should say, Texas recently passed a law which, at least the state level, made lawsuits much more reasonable, because you have to get at least 1 in 33 shareholders to agree that they are part of a class of shareholders. 3%. Okay. This will really help with frivolous lawsuits.
Okay. Let's talk about AI, which is in so many of your businesses and in all our worlds in different ways. It's one of the big changes, the development of generative AI, since you last spoke to this forum 3 years ago. You're in this space, of course, with Grok, which almost everyone will know. You co-founded OpenAI and then left, and you've obviously got a legal battle with OpenAI and Sam Altman. I wonder if you could say something about the status of that, because you were together in Saudi Arabia with the president last week with Sam Altman. In the same place at the same time.
Sam was in the neighborhood.
Okay, so does that mean you...
Holy shit, did he just brag about hanging out with the president while Sam Altman wasn't there?
Week with Sam Altman. In the same place at the same time.
Sam was in the neighborhood.
Okay, so does that mean you are pushing ahead with the lawsuit against OpenAI?
Yes. So look, I came up with the name OpenAI as an open source and as a nonprofit. And I funded OpenAI for the first roughly $50 million. And it was intended to be a nonprofit open source company. And now they're trying to change that for their own financial benefit into a for-profit company that is closed source. So this would be like, let's say you funded a nonprofit to help preserve the Amazon rainforest. But instead of doing that, they became a lumber company, chopped down the forest, and sold the wood.
This is a great metaphor, except I actually know what happened here because I made a video on this too. Elon Musk also wanted it to become a for-profit company with him at the head. That was one of the reasons he was initially kicked out. He did help fund it as a nonprofit, but then as it was growing, he wanted to change the company so that he would be have total control. And that was the reason they had a difference of opinion and split off. Now, I do think OpenAI is not a company I have a lot of love for. They have a weird governance. They do have a problem with a weird corporate structure that's like fake nonprofit. I agree. But I don't think Elon Musk was some big advocate of that. I think he just wanted more control over it. That was it. That's what...
You'd be like, wait a second, that's not what I funded. That's OpenAI.
They've made some changes to their corporate structure, though, haven't they, since? In recognition of what you've said. And
No, that's just what they told the media.
okay. They have partly walked back their plan to restructure the business. I guess that's made no difference to how you feel about it. So you're determined to see them in court?
Of course.
Okay. Well, that's certainly going to be one to watch. I also wanted to ask you about AI and regulation, because when you were here last talking to John Micklethwaite, you had some pretty strong words about the risk that AI poses, and you said that you really felt what the US was missing was a federal AI regulator, that something along the lines of the Food and Drug Administration or the Federal Aviation Administration. Now, you're clearly now in a zone where you're more on the cutting regulation side than wanting new regulators. So has your view changed on the need for an AI regulator?
Well, it's not that I don't think there should be regulators. You can think of regulators like referees on the field in sports. There should be some number of referees, but that you shouldn't have so many referees that you can't kick the ball without hitting one. In many...
I mean... For sure. Interesting metaphor.
In most fields in the U.S., the regulatory burden has grown over time to the point where it's like having more referees than players on the field. And this is a natural consequence of an extended period of prosperity. It's very important to appreciate this. This has happened throughout history. When you have an extended period of prosperity with no existential war, there's no.
He's waffling again. I agree with this in principle and in spirit for things like housing. I think what he's saying applies to things like housing or NIMBYism or things that are stopping building of high-speed rail. But the question again was on AI, which currently has no regulation. But it's not like we have a problem of too many referees. There's no regulation. And so it's just a weird stock answer to give that doesn't apply to the question being asked, which is like, hey, where do you stand currently, because you've said different things at different times, on AI regulation? Should it be, I mean, again, we have a problem with new technologies, things like Uber, etc., where we're too late. There's many things where we regulated too much and it slowed everything down. And then there's new technologies where we don't regulate it until it's way too late. And they've already destroyed industries or undercut prices or, caused a lot of problems. So I feel like AI is one, especially with what it's doing to schools and everything, where you'd want to have an eye to thinking proactively instead of waiting too long.
Cleansing function for unnecessary laws and regulations. So what happens is that every year more laws and more regulations are passed because legislators are going to legislate, regulators are going to regulate. And you'll get the steady pile of more and more laws and regulations.
Like, here's an example. Imagine if you had an AI chatbot that reached 100+ million people. Let's call it Grok. And let's say you personally hard-coded it for a 4 or 5 day period to only talk about white genocide in South Africa, regardless of the question. Would it be okay for there at least to be a fine for that? Would there be some sort of forcing function that allows a company to not just push whatever agenda they want through a mass market chatbot? Is there any possible discouragement that you could have from the government to make sure someone doesn't just abuse the widespread control of an AI agent? I guess that's an interesting question that would be worth asking.
Over time, until everything is illegal. And let me give you an example of a truly absurd situation. Under the Biden administration, SpaceX was sued for not hiring asylum seekers in the U.S. Now, the problem is it's actually illegal for SpaceX under ITAR, International Traffic in Arms Regulations, to hire anyone who is not a permanent resident of the United States, because the premise being that they will take advanced rocket technology and return to their home country if they're not a permanent resident. So we're simultaneously in a situation where it is illegal to hire asylum seekers and is also illegal to hire asylum seekers. And the Biden's Department of Justice chose to prosecute us despite both paths being illegal. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
But my question was specifically about a regulator for AI, which you said 3 years ago was needed, and you said we need to be proactive on the regulation of AI rather than reactive. Have you changed your mind on that?
No, of course not. No, of course not. What I'm saying is that there should be some referees on the field, a few referees, but you shouldn't have a field jam-packed with referees such that you could not kick a ball in any direction without hitting one. So the fields that have been around for a long time, such as automotive, so aerospace,
he loves his metaphor.
Food and drug industries are over-regulated, but the new fields, like artificial intelligence, are under-regulated. In fact, there is no regulator at all.
So there should be one. Do you still think that?
Yes, I'm simply saying, which I think is just basic common sense, that you want to have at least you want to have a few referees in the field. You don't want to have an army of referees, but you want to have a few referees on any given field.
Bro, I can't figure out his stance on the number of referees. I wish he was more clear about it. Does he want a lot of referees, or like he's just
in any given sport?
He's being so subtle.
Any given arena, industrial arena, to ensure that public safety is taken care of. But you don't want to have so there's a proper number of referees. Like I said, it's actually very easy to visualize this when compared to sports. If the whole field is packed with referees.
Bro, I get it. I fucking get it. I fucking get it, bro. The referees understood. You can't kick the ball because there's too many referees. I fucking get it.
That would look absurd. But if there were no referees at all, your game's not going to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's then talk about your new world, your role advising government. You are in this unique and unprecedented...
Dude, I got to give him a W there. She asked a question. He jammed home the referee metaphor 5 or 6 times, and then she moved on. Like she tried a couple times to get him to answer, and he just fucking... That's incredible. He just got through the question by repeating the referee thing over and over.
Position of having billions of dollars worth of contracts with the federal government.
The referee
yourself,
defense.
Mostly through SpaceX, and also now an insider's knowledge of it because of DOGE. Can you see that there is
conflict
of interest or a potential conflict of interest in broad terms just through that very fact?
That's a fair question.
I don't think so, actually. There have been many advisors throughout history and the U.S. government and others who have had economic interests. And I am simply an advisor. I don't have formal power. And that's it. The president can choose to accept my advice or not. And that's how it goes. If there's a single contract that any of my companies have received that people think is somehow not was awarded improperly, it would immediately be front page news, to say the least. And if I didn't mention it, certainly my competitors would. So if you're not seeing that, then clearly there's not a conflict of interest.
There's another way, though, to look at it, that, for example, you have many competitors, whether it's companies like Boeing or companies who would like to do more of the kind of work you do for NASA, Blue Origin, Rocket Lab. And because DOGE is in every federal government department, you or people who work for DOGE, and you are the driving force behind it, have an insight into those companies' affairs and those companies' relationships with the federal government.
Pretty good question.
No, all we do is we review the organization to see if the organization has...
What she's not understanding is that when you play sports, you don't want too many referees on the field, because then if you kick the ball, you won't even be able to, you can't get past the referees. I think she's not, do you notice how she's like completely not understanding that? Like if you have a few referees, what you can do is you can play the sport the way you want to play it. But when there's too many of them, I think I'm just noticing a weakness on her end.
Departments that are no longer relevant, and then are the contracts that are being awarded good value for money? In fact, frankly, the bar is not particularly high. Is there any value for money in a contract? And if there isn't, then we make recommendations to the secretary.
Yeah, but her question is very obvious. It's like, if you're the one deciding whether a contract is valuable, you're not going to pick the Tesla or Starlink ones to cut. You're not going to be like, well, we shouldn't have a Starlink contract. That's not valuable. The government's not getting its money worth. That's a conflict of interest because you're a billionaire who has businesses that rely on government revenue. And you're the one deciding whether those contracts are worthwhile. It's a simple question.
The secretary can then choose to take those.
In your metaphor, though, wouldn't it be weird if one of the players on the other team was also the referee, the lead referee? Okay? Imagine it's fucking Ronaldo v. Messi and Messi gets a whistle and he can call it whenever he wants. It messes up the contest. Now, do I think LeBron James should be given a whistle? Yes. Should he be allowed to call fouls? Yes, absolutely. He's an experienced player. He's the GOAT. Do I think Luka should get one too? Probably, yes. But I just want to understand whether we agree ideologically on that.
Those actions or not take those actions, and that's it. And then any action that is as a function of DOGE is posted to the DOGE website and to the doge.gov or at DOGE handle on the X platform. So it's complete transparency, and I've not seen any case where, to the best of my knowledge,
yet again, not complete transparency, because on that website, so many of the supposed savings, when you click into them, don't have any details attached, or they don't have the contracts attached, or the contracts say a different number than what you're claiming. And so it all adds up to a different number than your top line claim, and it doesn't feel very transparent. It feels performative yet again. So, and you know, that's not just me saying this. There's like many news organizations, NYT, FT, Bloomberg, they've all done this deep dive to try and track down whether the savings you're saying are actually happening, and they're finding a much smaller number.
There's even been an accusation of conflict because it is completely and utterly transparent. That's it.
And what about the international dimension? Now, let's think about Starlink. Starlink is obviously a very, very good internet service. It's sought after all over the world. It's critical to the front line in Ukraine. It is also...
Does anyone here have Starlink? I have heard that it's good. Is anyone here on Starlink internet right now? I've heard nothing, generally nothing but good things. I've heard good things. Especially because it's available in areas that don't have good options. Again, internet is one of those areas where, like, man, even a fucking modicum of competition would be such daylight to this rat-infested industry. So I don't have any problem with Starlink doing what they're doing with internet. I think the problem is when Elon Musk uses his government influence and connections to get other governments, Italy, etc., to sign these massive multi-billion-dollar Starlink deals. He wouldn't be able to take these meetings. He wouldn't be able to see these people. He wouldn't have this connection if he wasn't in government. It just... it sounds a little old-fashioned nowadays when nobody seems to care. But like back in the day, they made Jimmy Carter sell his peanut farm before he could be president. Most government advisors, even fucking Rex Tillerson in the first Trump administration, he had to like divest from his oil interests because he's managing U.S. energy policy. And so it's like, I don't know why we forgot that if you don't make people do that, they will have huge financial conflict of interest. And if you ask them about it, they'll lie. Of course they will.
Had more contracts coming its way, and there is some evidence that companies are allowing access to it because they want to be close to the Trump administration and send the right signal. So Bloomberg broke news today that the South African government is working around the rules on black ownership in order to allow Starlink in, and that is being done on the eve of the visit that President Ramaphosa is going to make to the White House. Do you recognize that as a conflict of interest?
No, of course not. first of all, you should be questioning why are there racist laws in South Africa? That's the first problem. That's what you should be attacking. It's improper for there to be racist laws in South Africa. The whole idea with what Nelson Mandela, who was a great man, proposed was that all races should be on an equal footing in South Africa. That's the right thing to do, not to replace one set of racist laws with another set of racist laws, which is utterly wrong and improper.
I heard this from Grok.
That's the deal, that all races should be treated equally, and there should be no preference given to one or the other. Whereas there are now 140 laws in South Africa that give that basically give strong preference to if you're a black South African, and not otherwise. And so now I'm in this absurd situation where I was born in South Africa but cannot get a license to operate in Starlink because I'm not black.
Well, it looks
Does
like
that
that's
seem
about.
right to
It
you?
looks
Does
like
that
that.
seem right to you?
Looks like that's about to change.
I just asked you a question. Please answer. Does that seem right to you?
Well, those rules were designed to bring.
Yes or no?
Those rules were designed to bring about an era of more economic equality in South Africa, and it looks like the government has found a way around those rules for you.
I asked you a question.
This is.
He's such a kid, bro. I can't believe this is the richest man in the fucking world. It's crazy. What's extra annoying about this to me is like, listen, I don't know what's going on in South Africa. I really don't. I assume he's exaggerating, but even if he isn't, if it was any other country in like a reverse situation, his normal response would be, this is not America, who gives a shit? It's not our problem. That's what the general stance has been about most of it. If it's not America, why the fuck are we caring? But because he has personal business interests in South Africa, because he's from there, he's made it like a big discussion point for the U.S. government to get involved in South Africa's laws about their business policy. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do. It's just very hypocritical. It feels like totally not relevant to the majority of Americans, but he's making it seem like it's a big story to them.
This is your interview. Everyone wants to hear from you.
Ask you a question. Yes or no?
Not
Racist
for me.
laws, yes or no?
Not for me to answer. I have got a question for you about your government
must
work
like
though and the
racist laws,
amount of
then.
savings.
Why do you like racist laws?
This is not for me to answer. Come on.
Yes, it is.
Now, you wouldn't be trying to dodge a question.
You have to
That
ask
is
a question.
difficult for you
I
to
answer my question.
answer.
No, you answer mine.
I think if you, I'm sure you can have that conversation directly with the South African government if you want to. I want to ask you about the total.
I can't believe it. That's not good.
I want to ask you about the total
Why do you like
amount.
racist laws?
I want to ask you about the total amount that you're planning to save through DOGE's work. Before the election, you said it was going to be at least $2 trillion.
Oh, shit.
The number currently on doge.gov is $170 billion. That's a big change. What happened to the $2 trillion?
Well, do you expect it to happen immediately?
Well, is it going to happen? Because DOGE is supposed to run till next July.
I mean, your question is absurd in its fundamental premise. Are you assuming that on day, within a few months, there's an instant $2 trillion saved?
No, I'm not at all. I'm just asking, is that still your aim then? Is it still your aim to get to $2 trillion?
The amount of time? Have we not made good progress given the amount of time?
No.
That's exactly what I'm asking. So is it still your aim to go from 170 billion to 2 trillion?
The ability of DOGE to operate is a function of whether the government, and this includes the Congress, is willing to take our advice. We're not the dictators of the government, we are the advisors. And so we can advise, and the progress we've made thus far, I think, is incredible. The DOGE team has done incredible work. But the magnitude of the savings is proportionate to the support we get from Congress and from the executive branch of the government in general.
So it's Trump's fault.
We're not the dictators, we are the advisors. But thus far, for advisors, the DOGE team, to their credit, has made incredible progress.
I disagree.
You've talked about $4 billion a day being saved, but that won't get, which is, and I think everyone can agree that combating waste and inefficiency in government is a very good thing. But if you add that up, it's not going to get to 2 trillion over the lifetime of DOGE.
I'm sorry.
The $4 billion the $4 billion a day, if DOGE is going to run till next July, is not going to get you to $2 trillion. But you still say it's your aim, so we'll take that as read.
There's what DOGE. I mean, I feel you're somewhat trapped in the NPC dialogue tree of a traditional journalist. So it's difficult when
call her an NPC?
Conversing with someone who's trapped in the dialogue tree of a conventional journalist, because it's like talking to a.
Bro's going full gamer. Yeah, I'm trapped in an NPC dialogue tree. She just asked you a question, bro, about the thing you're doing with our government. She just asked you a reasonable question with Matt. At $4 billion a day, you won't get to $2 trillion. You said $2 trillion. Why not? Why are we not there?
Computer. DOGE is an advisory group. We are doing the best we can as an advisory group. The progress made thus far as an advisory group is excellent. I don't think any advisory group has done better in the history of advisory groups of the government. We do not make the laws, nor do we control the judiciary, nor do we control the executive branch. We are simply advisors. In that context, we are doing very well. Beyond that, we cannot we cannot take action beyond that because we are not.
Okay, well, I think her question is about this weird about face, because in the lead up to DOGE, you're up on stage talking about how we're going to easily cut $1 trillion, maybe $2 trillion. Then it was confidently $2 trillion, and all this. And now it's like, well, it's not our fault. We're just advisors. It's Trump and it's Congress. But this was the criticism you were receiving when DOGE was first announced, and you said it wouldn't be a problem. I just think DOGE has been a colossal failure, and I feel like it's not fair to cop out and say, we're just advisors. The only things you advised on were inconsequential to the national debt and deeply consequential to the few programs you defunded. I mean, I'll give you a real world example. I don't know if I can say this. I shouldn't. I'll say it, but it's for a good cause. All right. Ari is a much better person than me. Ari's a much better person than me. And Ari every week volunteers to teach kids how to read. I have not told anybody this, but Ari goes to schools and teaches kids how to read. And that program, recently, she showed up and they said she couldn't do it because it got defunded. She just is out of the blue, by the way. She just started doing this. It got defunded. So now when she shows up, they don't have funding and they can't just leave an adult with the kid, even though she's doing it for free. So the kid she was seeing regularly, she can't see that girl anymore and teach her. It's just crazy. It's like, and did that save the government any money? No, no. It was this weird random fucking cut by DOGE that again has done jack shit. Like the deficit is so much bigger. And once this big, beautiful bill gets passed, it's going to be massively bigger. So it all just feels like stupid cloud cover for tax cuts. They cut funding for a free thing. I asked the same question. I was as dumbfounded as you are, but apparently they need some staff there to supervise. Otherwise, anyone could be like, I want to teach kids how to read and then walk into a school. And it's like not. So you have to have staff to supervise, and the staff no longer exist. And so no, the volunteers get sent home. So it's just super cringe.
So here's some sort of imperial dictator of the government. There are three branches of the government that are to some degree opposed to that level of cost savings. But nonetheless, let's not criticize whether there's $4 trillion, and instead look at the fact that $160 billion has been saved, and more will be saved too.
And as I said, I think everyone can agree that cutting waste and indeed fraud in any government and being responsible with taxpayers' money is a very good thing. So yes. I can see that you're proud of that work. I do want to ask you about USAID and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, which and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know you've said that already.
That's
wondered.
Also,
what did he call Bill Gates? What did he say? He's a huge what?
The comments that Bill Gates made the other day, which and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
Huge liar.
I know
okay.
you've said that already. I wondered. And I'm just.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well.
No, they love that.
He said he regrets
it's
those,
not
and
exactly- I wouldn't trust that guy to babysit my kids, I
he
can
spent
tell
a
you
lot. He spent a lot of his own money
bro.
on.
Listen, I'm not going to defend fucking Bill Gates. I'm sure he got divorced from Melinda. Maybe he wasn't those fucking flights. But the flight logs also have Donald Trump, bro, and you're pals with him. So it again feels kind of hypocritical.
On philanthropy around the world over the years. My question to you is, have you looked at the data to check if he might be right that the cuts to USAID might cost millions of lives?
Yes. I'd like him to show us any evidence whatsoever that that is true. It's false. What we found with USAID cuts, and by the way, they haven't all been cut. The parts of USAID that we found to be even slightly useful were transferred to the State Department. So they've not been deleted. They've simply been transferred to the State Department. But many times over with USAID and other organizations, when they said, "Oh well, this is going to help, children, or it's going to help some disease eradication or something like that," and then when we ask for any evidence whatsoever, I say, "Well, please connect us with this group of children so we can talk to them and understand more about their issue." We get nothing. They don't even try to come up with a show orphan, meaning like it's sort of like, well, can we at least see a few kids? Like, where are they? If they're in trouble, we'd like to talk to them and talk to their caregivers.
Okay, well,
and then we get nothing as a response because it's what we find is an enormous amount of fraud and graft.
Okay, let me put this example to you.
Very little of it actually gets to the kids, if anything at all.
Okay, let me put this example to you because you grew up in South Africa, so you'll know the impact of HIV/AIDS well. And this is why I asked about the data. The US led on international efforts to combat HIV/AIDS treatment, prevention, and there's an initiative called PEPFAR, which is credited with saving 26 million.
I like this interviewer because she brings follow-ups and data. The answer like that from Elon Musk is one of those answers that you normally can't say anything to. You just unless you are deeply in the weeds on specifics, it's just a fucking story from him. I can't verify if it's true or not. I'm not the fucking head of USAID. I have no idea. I don't know. And part of it rings true, right? Most people would agree that there's obviously some graft somewhere of people who are taking money. It just sounds true that people are taking money, but obviously some of it is being used for useful purposes. And I don't think Elon Musk is the guy to make that distinction. Clearly not the best guy to be the referee in this case. So I'm appreciative that she has some follow-ups because it's annoying to hear answers like that to questions when you can't say it. Like I can't give you a specific. I don't know. But I get the feeling that you are also misleading me. In the way that people in your story are misleading you, I think you are also misleading me in your answer. Especially because the things I do know about earlier in this call, you have openly lied about. Like the things I did know about regarding Starlink and with regarding Tesla, I could tell you lie. So it just makes me not trust you on this, even though some part of it does ring true.
And lives in the last 20 years. It was part of the foreign aid freeze. Then there was a limited waiver. Its services are disrupted. And UN aid says if permanently discontinued, there will be another 4 million AIDS-related deaths by 2029. So if you look at that example, which is backed up by data, in 2023, 630,000.
It's kind of like if the referees had AIDS and they were blocking the goal. So you couldn't. So they also have AIDS, but also you can't score the goal. Is this making sense? I feel like if you say about it through a referee lens, then okay.
Some people died of AIDS-related illnesses. Then perhaps Bill Gates' figures are not wrong. Millions of lives could be lost.
First of all, the program, the AIDS medication program is continuing. So your fundamental premise is wrong. It is continuing. Now, do you have another example? Elon,
not in its entirety.
It is false.
Not in its entirety. The there's a limited waiver, and UNAIDS have said that not all of the services that were previously funded by USAID are continuing. So that's why I put that example to you.
Okay, well, which ones aren't being funded? I'll fix it right now.
Okay, well, actually, they're all on the UNAIDS website, so you'll be able to see them. But mostly they are to do with prevention. And for example, the rollout of a drug called lenacapavir, which was hailed as one of the biggest breakthroughs.
Mad respect to her for having lenacapavir on top of the dome. Because that's such a disingenuous way to fucking criticize. Which ones? Which website? Which? Just keep drilling down until they don't have the answer. Then you can smugly smile and be like, ha, I fucking showed you. Incredible to know a specific drug. Because it shouldn't be the requirement to ask this question. It's a very fair question, and he's fucking nuh-uhing.
Against AIDS for many years, which came out last year. So if you are, perhaps, I'm sure UNAIDS would be delighted if you're able to look at that again.
Yes, well, if in fact this is true, which I doubt it is, then we'll fix it.
Okay, fine. So finally, your political influence. I wondered whether you have decided yet how much you're going to spend on the upcoming midterms. Is it you spent a lot more money on the last US election than you envisaged when you were speaking here 3 years ago? Are you going to continue to spend at that kind of level on future elections?
I think in terms of political spending, I'm going to do a lot less in the future.
And why is that?
I think I've done enough.
Is it because of blowback?
Well, if I see a reason to do political spending in the future, I will do it. I do not currently see a reason.
Okay. What about political influence beyond the US? How often do you speak to President Putin?
Oh, well, that was the big headline I saw. I mean, to be honest, I didn't say much. That's because, 2024, 6 months before the election, he said, I'm not going to donate money to either candidate for president. 6 months before the election. And then, of course, he turned out to donate $300 million to Trump. So there's no holding him to this. But I will say that there's a reasonable argument to be made that he'll never admit it here, but that he is trying to ease back from DOGE, ease back from political spending because it is damaging his company so severely. I don't trust him when he says that Tesla is back on track, all good. I don't think the numbers bear that out. I think there's been a nice retail dip buying for the stock, but in general, the longer term trend is negative as the sales continue to decline. So I think he's going to try and fix that before he jumps back into crazy spending. Additionally, he did a ton of spending for the Supreme Court thing in Wisconsin. It was Wisconsin, right? And lost that race pretty handily. So there's also an argument to be made that him spending actually hurts the team he's for, which would also make him stop.
I don't speak to President Putin.
You've never spoken to President Putin?
I was on a video call with him once about 5 years ago.
Okay. That's the only.
Why would you think I speak to President Putin? Oh, you must. I get it.
Because
You
I've
believe
heard
the
you
legacy.
speak. Actually, I've heard you speak about it. For example, in your West Point speech, you said, "Oh, I challenged President Putin to was it an arm wrestle?" And I know the Wall Street Journal has reported your reported conversations.
Yes.
If you're saying they haven't happened other than once, I'll take that as read.
Is there a worse publication on the face of the earth than the Wall Street Journal? I wouldn't use that to line up my cage for parrot droppings. That newspaper is the worst newspaper in the world. If there's one newspaper that should be pro-capitalist, it's the one with Wall Street in the name. But it isn't. So I have the very lowest opinion of the Wall Street Journal. Absolute nonsense. And you clearly believe the tripe that you've read in those papers.
I read very widely, and I'm putting these questions to you so that you have an opportunity to respond to them.
It's a fair question,
and for which we're all grateful to hear your responses.
Yes.
Okay, we are out of time. So
you mentioned me challenging. I did so on the X platform. I challenged Vladimir Putin to single combat over the But I didn't talk to him. That was a post on the X platform.
Great.
That's not
That's why I asked you, and you've clarified and explained. Thank you. That's why I was.
One more referee reference to wrap it up, Elon. Also, I forgot that he did that. This is back when Elon put a Ukraine flag in his bio, right? He was all about it, then he switched. And he was like, I challenge Vladimir Putin to single combat. I forgot that he did that. Times change so quickly, huh?
I was asking whether you have had reported conversations, and you said...
Yeah.
He also challenged Mark Zuckerberg to single combat. We never got that either. He seems to be big on the challenging, but not the...
You haven't, other than a video call. Okay.
Typical legacy media lies.
Okay, listen, I actually thought I might give Grok the last word, because when I asked Grok what your hardest challenge is, it said the strain of managing multiple high-stake ventures amid financial, regulatory, and public relations crises. And I wondered whether you recognize that character.
It also mentioned a little bit about white genocide in South Africa. The stress of dealing with white genocide in the song Kill the Boer in South Africa. But
And whether you do think that this is a pivotal year in your life.
oh, definitely, right?
Well, every year has been somewhat pivotal, and this one's no different. So, I mean, in terms of interesting things that hopefully are accomplished this year, getting Starship to be fully reusable, so that we catch both the booster and the ship, which will be the first fully reusable orbital rocket ever in history, would be a profound breakthrough, as the essential breakthrough necessarily to make life multiplanetary and ultimately become a spacefaring civilization. We've got Neuralink, which has now helped 5 patients.
I'm a little annoyed she didn't bring up the Austin self-driving. That's supposed to happen in a month. He's just trotting out the Mars stuff, but I think that would be a good question to ask, especially given that, man, you guys know that just today or yesterday, Waymo is now officially doing more rides than Lyft in the cities it operates in. And Lyft has like, I think, I'm not kidding, like 4,000% more cars. Waymo is actually growing at a kind of insane clip. I see them all over LA now. And they're accident free. I mean, the radar and LiDAR works. Now, again, I don't know if that's the long-term implications of self-driving. Actually, no. The medium term are terrible. The long term are great. The medium term are very tough economically as it displaces Uber drivers, truck drivers, taxi drivers. But in terms of the business implications for Tesla, Waymo is cooking. They're moving at a rapid pace, and they have drivers and they're making money. And Tesla still hasn't launched. Still hasn't even done the test in Austin.
Restore capability using the telepathy implant, where they're able to control a computer simply by thinking. We'll be doing our first patient to restore sight with our blind sight implant, which is either end of this year or early next. In fact, that first patient might be in UAE, since we have a relationship with UAE and the Cleveland clinic there. I think what's running on the AI front, we are close to what you might call AGI, or digital superintelligence.
You're close to it, or someone's close to it?
I think we are seeing an explosion in digital superintelligence here. And then we've got at Tesla we'll be launching unsupervised autonomy, basically self-driving cars with no one in them, in Austin next month.
Oh, there we go.
So it's a big year for sure. Many other things on in the works too.
Okay.
I'm a technologist first and foremost.
Elon Musk, thank you very much for joining us here at Qatar Economic Forum. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Elon. Thanks, Elon. Appreciate that dialogue. Honestly, interesting. But man, I can't help but feel like some of the walls are closing in there.